Hello and thanks for checking out ChartGuys.com. We're proud to be one of the most successful technical analysis communities online, teaching you the skills to become a more confident, effective, and informed trader. Join our community of hundreds of analysts worldwide working together to learn the charts, generate profit, and achieve financial independence. For access to daily live chart analysis and market coverage, a thriving chat community, along with dozens of hours of exclusive educational materials. We look forward to seeing you. Let's check out some charts. Hello MJ friends, checking in. Congrats to the bulls out there. Big volume, big moves, nice end to the year. And that's enough to make us forget how brutal 2019 was. Just kidding, no it's not, but it's a good move. So if you told me that this morning ACB announced a partnership with Coke, I would have believed you based on what the sector is doing. Don't feel bad if you missed this move, because this move happened after a 10-day slow bleed from CGC. It happened on no news. You know, you can point, people that need to find a reason, they're going to point to, well, Illinois is going to start selling January 1st. We know that news is priced in. We know how the market, I mean, just look at Canada when it started its first day of sales. We know that news gets priced in. And they'll also point to tax law selling's done. Whatever the reason, yes, those two things help. It's not the reason that this happened today. What today is, in my opinion, is either ETF end of the year rebalancing and buying, or, and that would be causing a short squeeze, or the big boys, big money banks, intentionally caused a short squeeze to set our weekly higher lows. And we're going to find out Thursday and Friday which of those is the most likely scenario, because if we get no follow through on this move, then we know it's likely that it was ETF buying. And we've seen this in the past. I forget exactly when it was, but this candlestick sure looks like it to me. Weakness into a big bull move out of nowhere and no follow through. I'm certainly not suggesting that we're going to dump like this, but I am suggesting that it is possible that this move does lack follow through on Thursday morning, depending on what caused this move. So I might be open to bearish plays in the MJ space Thursday morning. It all depends on what pre-market looks like, and it all depends on the first 10 minutes of trading. So that remains to be seen, but we're going to talk in this video. We're going to cover all the tickers we looked at yesterday, and we're going to look bigger picture as to what's needed and as well as short term. So short term for CGC, we didn't really establish a clear hourly support level today, except right at the end of the day, trying to form an hourly bull flag. So if we can hold 2079 and break 2141, I would call that an hourly bull flag. But again, we're going to be a bit extended. At least it gives us an hourly support level to be playing off of, with putting stops below it and using that as our guide. But again, just going to be cautious for the potential of the inability to break 2225 and the need for a daily higher low to form before the bulls make another attempt at it. So bulls in complete control to end today, and if we can see follow through and volume for the bulls and another green day on Thursday, that will go a long way for me personally to gain a lot of confidence in this sector. So today I did not hit the majority of this move. I was left to scalping. So we hit the double bottom with the low of yesterday first thing, and at that point I was just looking to, I don't think I made my first trade until we broke all nearby resistances, and then at that point I was just doing it based off of support levels. I did make a bull entry on 1976 breaking for this 5-minute bull flag, but I exited it very quickly just for a quick flip for a half day maker, just remaining cautious. And then I did another flip for a 5-minute higher low. And then I actually did some bearish trades, trading puts and just playing with really small amounts. And I went 2 for 3 playing puts. I played a CGC put and a CRON put, and I'm just getting used to how they move. So I have not traded options in the MJ space often, but with a lack of shares available for shorting often in the space, I know that I'm going to have to be looking at options as a play. So just trying to get more familiar with them. But basically, I can look at today as two things. I can look at today as, oh man, I could have made this much money and I'm an idiot and I should have bought sooner and I should have held longer. Or I could look at today and say, wow, that was a big move that came out of nowhere. The only play I could have made first thing was a double bottom. I was focused playing other names and trading other oversold bounces at that point in time. and I ended up with a day maker. So I can view it as a failure and be down on myself heading into the new year and be disappointed and be feeling FOMO and like I did something wrong. Or I could say, just another day at the office, I hit my day maker level, I ended 2019 on a really good note with the best month of the year, and I'm ready to hit 2020. So again, that psychological mindset as traders or investors is very important, because if we're in a negative space, we're not going to be performing really well. And we don't want to certainly just gloss over it and pat ourselves on the back whenever we make mistakes. I can look back and say, what could I have done differently? But again, this is not a scenario where I'm going to beat up on myself for missing this massive move in the slightest. So on the weekly time frame, our weekly high or low is set as far as I'm concerned. Yes, that's only one green day, but the amount of volume and the size of that green day would have me say that if we drop back down and break that current low of 1848, that's a big red flag for the bulls at this point. That needs to be our weekly high or low. We've been watching this inverse head and shoulders for almost a month at this point. Now our high or low is set, and with the break of 22.25 and 22.48, we have a weekly trend change for the first time since our highs in March. We have a clear momentum shift, and it may also be dependent on APHA earnings, which are in just a couple weeks. We could break resistance, and if APHA has a bearish reaction to earnings, that could lead to a lack of follow-through on that bull break. If, however, APHA, like the last two times around, has a bullish reaction to earnings, that could be some nice fuel to keep this move going higher. Bigger picture, if we do get this weekly trend change, we will be looking for a monthly lower high to be set. Now, that monthly lower high could happen at $30 for all we know. It could happen at $25, $35. We don't know where it's going to happen, but we know it is very likely to happen. So again, we're not going to get too overly excited. Yes, it'll be notable, but a monthly trend change will be needed if we're going to be getting really full steam ahead, all bulls in this sector. So one time frame at a time. I will be focused on the voting season of 2020, especially if we can get a Democrat that is pro-MJ in the running that has a chance. That would be some great sector hype into the second half of 2020. So we know what's needed on the weekly time frame. Now the question is, can the bulls follow through to start 2020? APHA, huge volume, and it's the same thing. Weekly chart is very clear. Higher low is established at 464. Have to see a break of 561 and 570 for the clear momentum shift. But these earnings may dictate whether that happens or not. And actually, it looks like they are the 9th, which would be a week from Thursday. So that means 8 more trading days. If we fail to break 561 on this move and need a higher low to form as a result, it's possible that the earnings reaction is going to dictate whether we get this weekly trend change or not. CRON had huge volume today. CRON's 20-day average volume is 6 million, and we saw almost 20 million, over 200% more than the 20-day average volume. You look at CGC's volume, and it was more in line with 120% more. So significantly more volume on CRON than other names, taking out the highest price that we've seen in a long time. The difference is CRON is coming from a different place, where APHA, CGC broke this level, APHA, I think it broke it as well. It did. So both APHA and CGC broke the resistance level on CRON that we have not broken yet, 805, the top of the oversold bounce. So it's a bit of a different setup. This weekly time frame is nowhere near as clear for me. And, if you ask me where would you say a weekly trend change occurs on CRON, I can't give you a clear answer. And so for me, APHA and CGC are going to dictate for CRON. If APHA and CGC break their weekly resistances and change the trends, as long as CRON is over 805 at that point, the high of the oversold bounce, I will say that CRON has changed the weekly trend as well, pretty much just lumping it in with those other names because it's lacking clarity on the weekly time frame for me. Hourly, again, little slight consolidation to end the day. I would just be cautious as a bull if we started Thursday strong because, again, we are so extended. If we're going to say, wow, this is really unusual and the big boys are very clearly going bullish for 2020, again, we will see a high volume green follow through day on Thursday. When's the last time we've seen 2 big volume follow through days and pretty much the oversold bounce from the all out dump is the last time we saw that. And if it happened here, it would be a very different positioning than when it happened there. Makes sense when it happened there. No support on the way down, meaning no resistance on the way up. This is a much different standpoint where 2 high volume green days would be very meaningful for me. ACB, great big green day, great big green gains, but a long way to go to even change the daily trend. We double bottomed at the low of yesterday. That was a nice signal first thing, but I'm going to have to see wherever we top out, hold 188 and then see a daily trend change for continuation. We're nowhere near the weekly time frame being anything like it is on APHA and CGC. So it's in line with everybody else. Like we've talked about, we want the sector green as a whole. And you saw today, first thing right out of the gate, the entire sector, US and Canada, were green. And that is notable. When that happens, you get powerful moves. So it's great to see our weakest names green, but we are not going to lump them together with our stronger names because they have a lot more proving to do. Again, hourly, no real clear high or low established. And if we see consolidation Thursday morning, we're going to be looking for hourly higher lows to form on most names. TLRY, big green day. Short squeeze to a certain degree, but again, same thing as ACB. Lots of work for the bulls to prove anything with a daily trend change at a bare minimum. This is just a move off the all-time low. One green day coming from a downtrend means a lot different than one green day looking for a weekly higher low to be set and looking for a weekly trend change. Can't lump them together. OGI, anything under 253 is a daily lower high. Have not broken that resistance yet. We're going to be looking for the bulls to try and set a weekly higher low. I need to see the bulls hold $2 and see a clear break of 315 for a notable shift, which I would call a weekly trend change. But at this point, we're still working on a daily trend change, and that has not happened yet. Again, you want to look at the hourly time frame for everybody, a more clearly defined support at 239 on OGI. HEXO didn't even break the high of Friday. So again, tons of work needed for even a daily trend change at this point. Nice to see it green as the weakest name, one of the weakest names in the sector, but a lot of work for the bulls to shift momentum on even the daily, let alone the weekly. VFF, big green day, but because we had a big red day yesterday, it's really just an inside bar. Double bottom at the low of yesterday. Nice double bottom signals all over the place. Certainly couldn't anticipate the bull move following through from that double bottom, but at least you can position yourself. I was just one day too early with my attempt on CGC yesterday. But VFF has to see a break of 642 and 693 to keep shifting its momentum as far as the weekly time frame is concerned. Again, still, this could be a weekly bear flag. I don't think it will be, but it's still that shape right now. And the bulls are going to have to make their way into the upper $6 range to try and negate that. So I would lump VFF in with some of the weaker names. Pretty much for me, it's CGC and APHA very clearly in their own league. CRON is now right nearby, but they are standing out in the Canadian MJ space out of the major names. Labs consolidation today seems a bit odd considering the market was so strong. Keeping in mind we did run 20% in the last week plus, but we're just looking for a daily higher low to form. So anything above 333 is a daily higher low. And again, weekly time frame, equilibrium watch. If we lose the daily uptrend, our weekly lower high is set. But at this point, we're not close to losing the daily uptrend because we're just looking for a daily higher low. Oils, huge green day. Have to be cautious. Again, it's very thinly traded. And if you look at the 5-minute candle right here, we moved 6-7% on $80,000 of volume. So it is extremely thinly traded, but we double bottomed and broke 37 resistance and saw some really nice follow through. Bigger picture, bounce certainly underway at this point. Weekly resistance is being taken out. Hourly support is down at 36. Make that 365 to be exact. And the next resistance I'll be looking up at 44. Make that 455 is the next resistance after 43. VLNS also got some follow through, strong close. Double top at 356 and 358 here is very important as the bulls are attempting a weekly trend change. We were pointing out this inverse head and shoulders pattern long ago, and it's nice to see that these bulls are potentially following through with it, but only if we break 356 and 358. If I were not in a position at this point, I would not buy a bull break of those levels. I would ideally want to see a failure to break it first thing, daily bull flag for an entry, and then a break. Want the bulls to catch their breath, get a little breather, not be as extended as they are, breaking that resistance, considering that resistance is still multiple percent away. But shaping up nicely, and that is the key level to start 2020. IIPR, 4-hour equilibrium is what we were watching for, and that's what we're getting. Low, high, higher low was set this morning, lower high was set at the high of the day. That's now the range 73 to 78.09 heading into next week. Cureleaf, nice volume. Keep up that bull volume if you want a sector sentiment shift. Weekly time frame. The question for Cureleaf to start 2020, is it a weekly equilibrium or is it a weekly trend change? And we need volume. That's exactly the volume we need if we're going to have a chance at a weekly trend change. We have a lot of space now where anything above 703 is a daily high or low. But if we're going to see another 15% to get to 937 resistance, this kind of green volume needs to keep coming. CWEB, putting in the same boat as the other weak names. Yes, it was green and yes, it bounced, but we're not doing anything bigger picture. Get over the daily exponential resistances and change the daily trend, and we'll start talking about a shift in momentum. But as of right now, it's just a weak daily bounce, and anything under 1085 is just a daily lower high. TRUL continuing its bull move. Again, that short squeeze, opposite. That short attack was baloney. Not a whole lot of substance, pretty much just no new information is what it boils down to. And the bulls bought the dip significantly, and you know that they have already long covered their position by now at this point. Still going to be watching for the potential of a lower high compared to 1650. And we may need to see a tightening range with a lower high and then a higher low. But nice little increase in bull volume. And it's looking every green day that we see from here. And the weekly chart shows us we're looking for a weekly lower high as well. But every green day increases the odds that our monthly lower high and higher low happened in the same candle. Remember, it's a big long-term monthly equilibrium. And we're going to be looking for this equilibrium to break in 2020. Still waiting on news. Again, just for clarification, because there's a lot of people throwing around different dates, the deadline for having verified signatures is February 1st. You have to have the signatures submitted January 1st so they can be counted by the appropriate officials. IAN, daily trend change. Been a while since we could say that. Momentum shift on the daily chart. Nice follow through. If 199 can break, we might as well call it $2. That will be a very nice shift in momentum towards the bulls. Anything on the daily chart above 164 maintains the daily higher lows. I personally would be considering anything under 245 as a weekly lower high. So it would be possible, with that still 25% away. We've been watching the inverse head and shoulders on CGC and APHA. If this move were to fail at 240, fail breaking 245, and then need a weekly higher low, it too is a potential inverse head and shoulders pattern. Very early pattern recognition. I wouldn't expect that to play out for another 3 to 4 weeks, but we have that same early pattern recognition on CGC, APHA, and VLNS. And it's important to be looking further out for these potentially likely patterns and then just using every day of information that we get to apply to it. OH, huge volume. This is just such a beautiful sight to go from being so weak to a daily trend change. And now at this point, we are almost, 60+% off of the low. We had the vote come through, so the vote passed for the resolution of the CL deal. I can't get my thing to work. It's a big move. Next resistance is going to be 704. Weekly trend has not changed, so don't lose sight that this move is coming straight off the low, and we will need a weekly trend change if we're going to call it a very clear momentum shift. So that's one anti-FOMO pill right there. But very significant move, tons of space. Anything above 440 is a daily high or low. CL, daily trend change as well by breaking 885, 889. All those resistances broke. Hourly chart healthy consolidation, no red flags there. If we do top out, we'll just look for a daily higher low compared to 726. Same thing as OH. We don't have a weekly trend change. We are coming off of the low. MedMen, green day, holding the all-time low, but anything under 91 is just a lower high. That is 30% away. So nice solid move, but one of those names that has a lot more proving to do, bigger picture. It could be a weekly trend change. If we do get follow through from here, I would consider a break of $1 to be a weekly higher low and higher high. So that is in play. GTII increasing bull volume, big green day, 1359 is in sight here. That would be a weekly trend change if 1359 can break. A bit extended heading into that resistance. Again, same thing. I would not be buying a break of 1359. If I'm going to be a buyer, it has to be with a failure to break it, a daily higher low, and then follow through. And Harv, nice volume ramping up. Big green day, 412 breaking. This is the highest price that we've seen in almost 3 months. That is notable. Weekly time frame 412 is the key resistance that broke. It's not a weekly trend change because we're coming off the low, but we are breaking weekly resistances. We will need, just like OH and CL, weekly trend changes will be needed. Great move off the lows, creating plenty of space for weekly higher lows, but cannot give the bulls any benefit of the doubt based on what we've been seeing all 2019. So that's where we stand. Again, congrats to the bulls. The shift is in the air. We do still need a bit more follow through. It will be disappointing if we see no follow through on Thursday. That will tell us, that might have been ETF rebalancing and that buying might be done for now, which would be a great bear opportunity, which is why I'm keeping that on the table to be looking for more of a pullback. If we see green days and solid volume on Thursday, it will be such a confidence boost for me in the sector as a whole. And as we know, weekly trend changes are the goal, keeping in mind that monthly lower highs on most names will be the result of weekly trend changes. So we'll just keep that in the back of our minds. If we change the weekly trends, it's great. Good start to 2020, but we're not going to just be all bull the sector. We're headed back to all-time highs because that's not likely. So I hope you all have a happy, safe New Year's Eve. Don't throw up. Don't drink and drive. Don't screw up your sleep cycle to start 2020 off on a groggy note. I'm going to be going to bed as early as possible and waking up and making some content about what does it mean to be priced in. And I'll hope to have that out by the end of this coming weekend. Thanks for all your support, everybody. We'll see you in 2020.